10 photos that shocked the world. Hello YouTube! Photos have been a trend ever since the first cameras were invented. From generation to generation, history has been passed down by mode of photography. It's true to say that a photo is a window into a moment that might have been otherwise forgotten in time. Doesn't a throwback photo bring up some good memories for you? I'm sure it does. Anyways, our focus for today is the top photos that shocked the world. Stay tuned, as some of the photos we'll include in our feature are from way deep in some archives, which you've probably never seen. But unfortunately to mankind, there's been several other more frustrating diseases, such as the basic influenza and Spanish flu, which was by far some of the worst pandemics worldwide. Spanish flu led to the loss of over 50 million lives. It destroyed families, infrastructure, and the economy. Everyone lived in great fear of getting infected because hospitals were overcrowded due to World War II. However, a few people were brave enough to go out and watch a football match in the Berlin Stadium. However, they took great precautions to make sure they wouldn't get infected. This picture tells a story of a population living in fear of a strange disease and the measures they were ready to take against it. One of the greatest wars in history was fought in Germany, a country where its people once lived in harmony and peace with each other, despite their religious, political, or cultural beliefs. However, that sobriety was short-lived with the uprising of a certain German leader who, before his demise in 1945, caused a great divide amongst the nation. Countless pictures depict the horror and devastation the war caused in Great Germany. But there's also pictures like this one that prove that humanity still holds the hearts of the people. This picture candidly shows how a soldier who was tasked with watching over the border had defied orders, risking life imprisonment or worse as he held the barbed wired fence open for a little girl to cross over. This photo has held unremarkable value in the hearts of people who saw it, as they were able to see that despite the Berlin Wall dividing people, there were still some who saw no difference between the two sides, that were willing to do whatever it takes to bring people together. When you first glance at this picture, you'll quickly pass it off as Photoshop, or a picture derived from a movie scene, because it looks unrealistic. To think that a couple would be passionately kissing while a heavy group of armed officers is behind them, as much as I'd like to agree with you, I just can't. After hearing the story these two lovebirds had to tell of that eventful day, the couple photographed as Scott Jones and his girlfriend Alexandra Thomas, who were supposedly caught in a riot. The lady panicked after seeing that her boyfriend was about to be attacked, and in a bid to calm her down, he leaned in close to the ground where she lay and gave her one crazy kiss. A photo of a woman seemingly trapped in a huge wooden box sparked an uproar among people once it was published. The story behind the picture is that the woman had performed some kind of crime punishable by taking her life. But because she was a virgin, it was forbidden by the community to spill her blood. Thus, the punishment suitable for such an act was that she would be locked in a box, putting them in a secluded area and leaving them there without any access to food or drink. There, she would eventually lose her life because of starvation. This form of punishment was popular amongst the Mongolian people. This brutality was practiced for almost a century before it came to an end. The photo was first published in 1922 and said to be shot in July 1913, demonstrating the crude way women were punished. The worst memory among the Ukrainians would be the Holodomor, a memory that's painfully engraved today in the people who lived in Ukraine in 1932 because a ruthless government pushed a silent massacre that saw hundreds, if not thousands, losing their lives due to starvation, a starvation that was man-made. A calculated move to destroy Ukraine's independence. By disabling its production capacity, this led to scores of people losing their lives. There were so many diseased people that they even lay by the roadsides, as others went about their usual day. It's said that few who survived were those who chose to practice cannibalism. There isn't any good picture that can be painted by war. Mostly, war pictures are filled with red stripes to signify blood. Unlike those gory pictures, this one depicts a light at the end of a very dark tunnel, as a mother and her infant child are reunited. Even though the reunion wasn't exactly as the mother had hoped, she was happy to receive her child through the barbed wires. If you've ever been to a war-stricken country, you'll understand the heavy burden the innocent civilians in the middle of the war have to go through. Liberia, unfortunately, experienced one of the worst wars back in the early 90s up to the 2000s, when a newly formed rebel group forced their way into the capital. Many people had to flee the country before things fell out of hand. For over a decade, the Liberian suburbs heard no peace and had gotten used to the blasting of bombs and gunfire. The streets themselves were in a mess, with rifle shells scattered all over the place. What's even worse is that numerous bodies lay cold in the streets with no one to pay their last respects or bury them. The world was shocked after several photos of the war going on in Liberia surfaced online. They couldn't do much except by offering relief and preaching peace to their neighbor. I am glad to say that, at least today, the country enjoys peace and harmony, though the scars are still fresh in their minds. One look at the previous photo just gets me all emotional. I hope no other state has to undergo the same regime. If that photo shocked you, then get ready for the next one, because I promise it's much more hard-hitting than that one. Get ready to hear and see about the Thailand massacre. October 6, 1976 remains the darkest day in Thailand's history, and there's a pretty good reason for this. Temasek University, on that day, was the center of all chaos after students decided to rally out and hold a peaceful demonstration against the regime at the time. Paramilitary police reacted fast when they got news of the staged riot and poured down on the students like hot lava from a volcanic eruption. By nightfall, they'd massacred almost the entire student population. The university's hallways were filled with bodies and shrill screams from the brutal torture of the police. They went the extra mile of hurting innocent civilians and beating them up. The pain that the gruesome photos bring back is just unbearable, and up to today, the Thailand population hasn't been able to recover from these scars. A monument's been set up at the entrance of the institution to commemorate the lost souls, and a mark to the world of the drama that once ensued in these very walls. This photo was taken after a giant plaza came crumbling down in Bangladesh. An infamous garment factory caused numerous fatalities after mysteriously collapsing in 2016. What's even worse is the event transpired amid the morning rush hours of the store. I can't imagine the confusion and chaos that followed through, with everyone trying to find their loved ones and stall owners struggling to retrieve damaged property. Investigations revealed that there had been claims that there were cracks on the walls of the building, but the workers were assured everything was fine. This man got trapped on the lower floors of the building, holding on to his loved one. I'm sure he did his best to secure her from the heavy blocks. At least, at the end of the day, the power of love is on display. Back in 2006, the Israeli government ordered the evacuation of illegal migrants from its soils. The operation was meant to run smoothly, but turned violent within the blink of an eye. The image that remains in the minds of many is that of a brave woman who challenged the Israeli forces when she held her ground behind one of the security personnel's barriers. They were forced to call in a handful of men who, by the looks of the photo, were unable to match up to her strength. This summarizes our list for the day. Let us know which photo shocked you the most. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons.